Hey everyone, thanks for coming back. This is part 2 of the Baofeng radio series. On the previous video, we went over how the functions of the radio work, uses for the radio, brief explanation of how these Baofeng radios will be useful to you. Well, today we're going to go over all of the settings that are in Chirp. So we're going to start by downloading Chirp, opening, setting up the defaults, downloading an image from the radio, and going into what channels are, what the memory functions are, all of the settings for those things. And this is going to be a long video, so please bear with me on this video. I know that it's long and it's got a lot of information, but this is pretty much the only way to get you to understand all of these settings and how they incorporate into these radios. Jump right on into it. Let's open up a browser, your preferred browser. We're going to go to chirp.danplanet.com. Go to the download section or click on Get It. Either way, it's going to take you to the download section of the Chirp website, and you'll download the Chirp version for your operating system. I use a Windows machine, so I'm going to download the latest version. All right, when you click that, it takes you to all of the different files that Chirp has. None of these concern us right now. The one that really matters is the installer. So we're just going to click the installer, save the file. Let's go ahead and download it. Do you want to allow the app to make changes? Yes, if you get that, yeah, just go ahead and agree to all of this stuff. Let's get this thing installed. Perfect. Chirp has been installed on your computer. From there, we go to the Start menu, C for Chirp. All right, it's already giving us some instructions. If error reporting is enabled, if you wish to disable this feature, you may do so in the Help menu. All right, so it's going to give you a lot of instructions as you click on things and as you move through. You can turn that off by going to Help and turn off Show Instructions. Right, so we've opened up Chirp, and the first thing that you will see is an empty window. So let's start off with the menu items. We have File, Edit, View, Radio, and Help. Under File, it's going to have you do a new Chirp file. We won't be using that. Open will be to open up an existing file. Open stock configuration opens up stock configurations, not for your radio, but rather for radio frequencies that are already out there. We have some of the European LPD, FR Marine channels, but then we have the United States NOAA weather alerts, the United States 60-meter channels. Remember, the Baofengs don't run on 60 meters. It's only 20 meters and 70 centimeters, so those won't work here. U.S. California Railroad channels, U.S. calling frequencies, U.S. FRS and GMRS channels. And remember, the Baofengs are not FCC certified for FRS and GMRS. Nonetheless, we will go over how to install those channels on your radio. U.S. Marine VHF channels and U.S. MERS channels. You also have Save and Save As. Import and export we won't be using those. Close and quit. On the Edit tab, you've got Cut, Copy, Paste, Delete. These are all going to be used when we are transferring frequencies and channels from stock configurations to our radio configurations. We have Select All, Move Up, Move Down, and Exchange. These are all going to have to do with the rows that you will see in a radio file. And then Properties. Properties allows you to select several different rows of channels or frequencies and then change the properties of each all at one time. View. View allows you to see what columns you will be available in when programming image file. You'll be able to hide the unused fields, which cleans up your desktop while you're looking at things. Smart tone modes are not used for Baofeng radio, so we're not going to use that. And then change language is if you prefer to use a different language within Chirp. Radio, you will be using download from radio and upload to radio. These are how you get your files, your stock file from the radio, and how to upload your modified file to the radio. You'll import from data sources. So the two that you'll be using for the two free resources that you use that are available for the US are radioreference.com and RepeaterBook. RepeaterBook allows you to pick up all of the repeaters in your area by either doing a political, which is city and state query, or a proximity query, which is putting in your zip code and then setting a radius. Import from stock configuration is the same thing that is here in open stock configuration. So you'll be able to pull those into a file and then copy and paste those into your radio file that you'll be using. Channel defaults, those are going to be defaults for band plans for the United States, European markets, Australia. As you'll see when we first download from the radio, chances are very likely that it's already programmed using the European band plan, but they're not used in the United States. So we're going to overwrite all of that stuff. So we really don't have much use for the channel defaults. Help, I just report statistics simply because it helps out the people who are developing Chirp, and show information and show instructions helps you as you go along. Enable developer functions is for anyone out there who has knowledge of programming language, who thinks that they can help out the Chirp development team. And then about, I'm going ahead and give a shout out to the Chirp software people out here. That will always pop up every time that there is a new version out there. Every time that you bring up Chirp, you want to use the most recent version of Chirp in order to have the most compatibility with your radio as well as anyone else's radio. Let's just go ahead and get started. We have the radio plugged in, and the first thing that we'll need to do is download the default image source from the radio. And then we're going to save that into a safe place so that it does not get overwritten. And then we'll create a new file name and start saving to that new file name. So to radio, download from radio. It should open a window that has the COM port, the manufacturer of the radio, as well as the model. So here it is. It puts in defaults, and you will have to move some things around and make some changes in order for it to read your radio. First thing that you want to do is change the vendor to Baofeng, and then the model depends on which model that you bought. Now, if your Baofeng is a variant of a base model, you will select the base model. For example, the UV-5R has a UV-5RS, it has a UV-5R Plus, UV-5RW. So depending on which UV-5R you have selected or you bought, if it's not here, then you'll just select the UV-5R and it will read your radio. All right, so the COM port may take some trial and error to figure out which COM port your radio is plugged into. I know that mine is plugged into COM 8, so I'm going to click OK. It's going to give you a warning, and it's basically saying, hey, if you screw up your radio using this, using Chirp, that there's nothing that we can do about it. So do you want to continue? Of course we do. And I'm not going to show this going forward. So yes, proceed. All right, so it gives you instructions on when you need to how you need to plug it in. So you want to turn the radio off, connect the cable, turn the radio back on, plug the radio into the computer, turn the radio on, make sure that it's tuned into a channel with no activity, and then you'll click OK to download the image from the device. I'm not going to show these instructions anymore, so we hit OK. And now you see cloning progress. It is cloning the radio, and the cloning process has been completed. We now have the full, all of the memories, the channels that are set in the memories. We have all of these settings. We have everything from this radio. So the first thing that we are going to do is save this stock file in a safe place. So we do save as. I like to put my stuff into a default. Save, and so now that is that file. It's saved in a safe place that we're not going to touch that anymore. And now we're going to save as, and we're going to go to a different folder, change it to another file name. All right, so let's look at the main Chirp window. So now that we have an image file here, it shows you the file name that we are saving to. We're on the memories tab here. So the memory tab shows all of the different all the different channels that are programmed under memory mode. So when you turn on your radio and it says channel mode, and when you hit the button, the VFO MR, that MR is standing for memory mode. So that's corresponding to all of these channels as we put them in here. If you only see 1 through 21 or 1 through whatever, click show empty so that it shows all of the empty fields that you can program more channels into. Special channels, there aren't really any special channels on in a Baofeng, so that doesn't matter. You can have it on, have it off, it doesn't matter. Properties allows you to, I think I talked about this earlier, the properties allows you to modify several different memory channels at one time. For example, I just changed all of them to low. I'm going to select those again, do that one more time. These channels that are, these frequencies that are in here are frequencies that are not used in the United States anyways, at least not how we use them. So we're going to remove these anyway. So you have 128 channels that you can program frequencies into. In doing that, you'll see 0 through 127. I personally don't put anything in the 0 row, totally not necessary. When you're looking at the different columns, go to view and then columns and make sure that all of the columns are selected. You want to make sure all of the columns are selected. If they're not, select them and then hit OK. The columns that we have here, the location. So the location is referring to the channel that the radio is set on. When you're on channel mode on your radio and you look all the way to the right under the battery sign, you've got your channel numbers there. So and when you first turn it on, it may be set to 17 and 14. I've got 17 in row A and 14 in row B. That's referring to these numbers here. So when I look at my radio, channel 17 is set to 138550. And when you look here, channel 17, 138550. So that is the channel number. The frequency is what frequency is that channel tuned to? It's going to show on the radio when you have the setting set to show the frequency. The name, none of these frequencies, none of these channels have names set to them by default. For example, let's just say, for the sake of demonstration purposes, that this 4521250 is a NOAA channel. So we can type in NOAA channel 1 if we want to. And then when we upload this to the radio, depending on, as long as we have it set to show the name, it will, instead of saying 452125, it'll show NOAA 1. The tone mode. The tone mode is based on when you are trying to reach repeaters. The tone is an inaudible tone that the radio transmits to the repeater that basically says, hey, recognize me. And then the repeater sends back the same inaudible tone that basically says, hey, you're recognized, recognize me. If you do not put in the correct tone mode or not use the correct tone number for that, then you won't be able to hear a repeater, nor will you be able to communicate on the repeater. For the defaults, this first channel, this first frequency is set to a tone mode of tone squelch. You have tone squelch, DTCS codes, and then cross tone modes. All of this will be automatically set when we download the repeater information from the repeater book, or the tone column has to do with what you selected in the tone mode. So if you select tone, then you have to select that tone column, the number corresponding to that tone column. If you select tone squelch, then you'll select the tone squelch number in the tone squelch column. If you select DTCS, then you'll need to select the DTCS code. And if you select cross mode, then you will go to the cross mode. And then it will be between tone and tone squelch, or tone and DCS, however, whatever the cross tones that you'll be using. I have yet to come across any repeaters that use cross modes between tones and DTCS tones. I just haven't seen any. That does not mean that they don't exist, but that's what they're for. Duplex. So duplex has to do with the shift between when you transmit and receive. All right, so during editing, I found that the video for doing all the settings was gargantuan. It was just too huge for me to try to publish. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video, move on forward with the rest of the settings in another video. So again, thank you for watching. Please click subscribe so that you can be notified of the next video, and see you guys next time.